UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. I am your intrepid host, Marzulli. Welcome to a very special presentation because we are going to move up another rung on the ladder of disclosure. And I'll get into that, but first a word from our trusted sponsor. The financial world's biggest players just dropped a bombshell. Citigroup's latest prediction, gold rocketing past $3,000 by 2025. Folks, think about that number, $3,000. While Wall Street scrambles, here's what they won't tell you. This isn't just a prediction, it's a wake-up call. Every day you wait could cost you. Every moment of hesitation, a lost opportunity. Maybe tomorrow, another step behind. Smart investors are already moving. They see what's coming. A golden tide that could lift some boats and leave others high and dry. Where will you be when gold hits $3,000? Celebrating your foresight or wishing you'd listen? Noble Gold Investments is your bridge to that future. Your partner in preparation, your guide to what's coming. Don't let 2025 be your what-if moment. Be ready, be positioned, be confident. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com now and get 10 1-ounce silver American Eagle coins with a qualified account. Because $3,000 gold won't wait for permission. That's noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Folks, please remember that there is a risk with any investing, so please proceed cautiously. So in the book, Rungs of Disclosure, there are 17 rungs. And by the way, if you go to the website, and it's still under construction on some level, but there's a lot of videos and a lot of information there. But if you go to the website, rungsofdisclosure.com, rungsofdisclosure.com, you're going to see very shortly a presentation that I did. And we're going to post that video up there for free. It'll show basically all 17 rungs of disclosure. But what I want to talk about today is the 18th rung on the ladder of disclosure. So there's the book. You know, folks, it's an interactive book. You can go to rungsofdisclosure.com. It's all right there. Videos are posted. And this is a new update. This will be number 18 on the rungs of a ladder of disclosure. Basically, in the last 48 hours, NASA, never a straight answer, posted a very interesting link basically saying that NASA claims that there's ancient life on the planet Mars. What are we looking at here? What are we looking at? Let's go through it. First off, we know that this information was done by an occult technique known as remote viewing. And Luis Elizondo's book, Eminent, he is also trained as a remote viewer. So here's the background. When I was in the New Age years and years ago, I took a class at Silva Mind Control. Now, it's not exactly remote viewing, but the two are somewhat similar. I'll tell you why. I was told, I was trained in this, and of course I've renounced all that in the name of Jesus, okay? But it's an occult technique. And I was told to pick counselors and create a laboratory in my mind. So this was all, and we would go back and we would count down and go into our laboratory. And my three counselors were Jesus, interesting, the Lone Ranger, and Curly from the Three Stooges, go figure, right? But those are my counselors, and we were trained in doing this. We would lay on the floor, and they would just regress us, and we'd go down into our laboratory or our safe spot or whatever you wanted to call it, and we would work with our counselors, familiar spirits, thank you very much, and images and different things would appear. And okay, that's interesting. So here's the deal. Coffee is so good. In order to pass the course, and this is where the similarities between remote viewing and Silva Mind Control, they intersect. Because you're conjuring up, if I can use that word, the dark side. You're engaged in something that is forbidden by the biblical prophetic narrative. We're told not to do stuff like this. This is sorcery, divination. It all dovetails together, folks. So here's the deal. So my instructor, the teacher of the class, had a card. I did not see the card. I had no idea what was on the card. He just held the card up and he said, okay, go down meet with your counselors and tell us what's wrong with this person. Give us the diagnosis. And what we learned to do was to close our eyes, go down with our counselors, and go like this, pretend that the person was in front of us, and go like this and scan them to see what was wrong. So, okay, so that's interesting. I'm down there with my counselors. I'm in a semi-altered state, no doubt. My eyes are closed. And when I'm scanning the person, my counselors point out that right here, there's a brain tumor. And I said to the course instructor, brain tumor. And he turned the card over, and there it was, the name of the person, brain tumor. I'm not making this stuff up. So remote viewing is similar in the sense that you have a handler, you have someone, and it's called here, this is the Mars exploration. This is actually the transcript from the CIA. And you had a monitor and the subject. And, we'll get into this in just a little bit. I want to read about this because NASA is saying that there were pyramids and there's ancient civilization and something cataclysmic happened. There's a book in my library by a scientist who looked at the data coming from the rover and all this other stuff and going, something happened on Mars. And he posited that there was some sort of a nuclear event on Mars, and other people hold on to that view. Then we've got the pyramids on Mars, the face on Mars. So it's interesting how you go back 25 years ago, this is the work of David Flynn, who talked about the pyramids and the face on Mars. We miss him. He was an amazing investigator. Can I prove that? No, I can't. But we know that the images were there. Absolutely, the images were there. And they still are. And David Flynn talked about this and did all sorts of mathematical equations, which were way beyond my pay grade. And Tom Horn published that book, and I have it in my library. So something cataclysmic happened in Mars. Flynn posited that Mars and Rahab might have been the two homes of the fallen angels before they came here. Just say, we don't know. It's all speculation. But to think that NASA now is coming out and saying that there was some sort of history on Mars. The beings were 10 feet tall. They were very thin. That sounds like the tall whites to me, but who knows? And there were pyramids and faces and structures and cities. So this is the actual transcript. So the monitor gives the coordinations, and the subject goes, I want to say it looks like, I don't know, it sort of looks like I kind of got an oblique view of a pyramid form. It's very high. It's kind of sitting in a large depressed area. And the monitor says, all right. The subject goes, it's yellowish, ochre color. Monitor, all right. Move in time to the time indicated in the envelope I provided you. Describe what's happening. So the subject, the guy who's remote viewing, doesn't know what's in the envelope. Get that? So he's basically remote viewing. He's going back. It's an occult technique, and he's seeing through time. So let's continue. The monitor. All right, moving time to the time indicated in the envelope. The subject. I'm tracking severe clouds, more like dust storm. It's a geologic problem. Seems to be like, just a minute, I've got to iron this out. It's really weird. Monitor, just report your raw perceptions at this time. You're still really early in this session. The subject, I'm looking at after effects of a major geologic problem. Monitor, okay, go back in the time before the geologic problem. Subject, total difference. It's before there's no, I don't know, oh heck, it's like mountains of dirt, appear and then disappear when you go before. Large flat surfaces, really smooth, angles, walls. They're really large enough. I mean, they're megalithic. Monitor, all right. At this period in time, now before the geologic activity, look around, in and around this area, and see if you can find any activity. The subject, I'm seeing, it's like a perception of shadow people, very tall, thin. It's only a shadow. It's as if they were there and they're not anymore. Monitor, go back to a period of time when they are there. Subject, it's like I get a lot of static on the line and everything. It's breaking up all the time. Very fragmentary pieces. Monitor, just report the raw data. Don't try to put things together. Just report the raw data. Subject, I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall. Again, are these the tall whites that we hear about? Conjecture on my part. But they're very large, wearing some kind of strange clothes. Monitor, all right. Now, holding in this time period, I want to move you from your physical location in space to another physical location, but in this time period. And then he gives the coordinates. And 56.45 north, 353 degrees, 0.22 east. So he goes deep inside of a cavern, not a cavern, more like a canyon. I'm looking up at the sides of a steep wall that seemed to go on forever. and there's like a structure. It's like the wall inside the canyon itself, and it goes on. So did the structure have insides and outsides? Subject, yes, it's like a rabbit warren, corners of rooms. They're really huge. I don't feel like I'm standing on one. It's just really huge. Monitor, yes, that would be correct. All right, I'd like to move now to another location nearby. So they move to another location, and they appears to have be at the end of a very large road, and there's a marker thing that's very large. Keep getting the Washington Monument overlay. It's like an obelisk, all right. Then they move to another point, and the subject goes, it's like I'm in the middle of a huge circular basin of the range of mountains by almost all the way around. Very ragged mountains, very tall. And the monitor, I understand the problem, just continued. And the subject, see just a right angle corner to something, but that's all. So they move to another location. The cluster of squares up and down. It's like you want to make them square anyway. They're almost flush with the ground, and it's like they're connected, something very white or reflects light. And then the monitor, what's your position of observation as you look at this thing that reflects light? The subject, it's amid oblique left angle, and they continue to another location. And it's like I can perceive like a radiating pattern of some kind. It's like some strange intersecting kind of roads that are dug into the valleys, where road is just a little below the edge. Tell me about the shapes of these things. They're really neat channels cut. They're very deep. It's like the road went down. Okay, now I notice electrically, you're nulled out a little bit, and I want you to stay deep and recapture your focus here. It's really tough. It seems like it's just always very sporadic. They go yet to another location, and the subject goes, intersecting, something's intersecting, whatever these are aqueduct types things, rounded bottom, carved channels, like road beds. I see pointed tops of something on the horizon, and they move to another location. They are pyramids. There are pyramids. Can't tell if it's an overlay or not because they're different. Okay, do these pyramids have insides and outsides? They've got both. They're huge. It's interesting perception I'm getting. The monitor, I think he's losing the ability to move accurately, but he is attracted to things that are interesting. So we're going to go with his own. We're going to let him go ahead and explore what seems to be interesting to him, rather than move on the targets indicated here. So they continue, and the subject goes, different chambers, but they're almost stripped of any kind of furnishings or anything. It's like strictly functional place for sleeping, or if that's not a good word, hibernations, some form. I can't get raw input. Storms, savage storms, sleeping through the storms. And then the monitor, tell me about the ones who sleep through the storms. The subject, very tall, again, very large people, but they're thin. They look thin because of their height, and they dress like it's like a real light silk, but it's not flowing type of clothing. It's like cut to fit. The monitor, move close to one of them and ask them to tell you about themselves. The subject, they're ancient people. They're dying. It's past their time or age. Tell me about this. They're very philosophic about it. They're looking for a way to survive, and they just can't. The subject, can't seem to get out of their way. They can't seem to find their way out. So they're hanging on while they look away for something to return or something coming with an answer. The subject, the monitor, what is it they're waiting for? The subject, evidently was a group or a party of them went to find a new place to live. It's like I'm getting all kinds of overwhelming input of the corruption of their environment. It's falling very rapidly, and this group went somewhere, like a long way to find another place to live. And it continues. Let me just wrap it up here. And then basically, there's just a few more thoughts that the subject gets, and that's it. So why would NASA lead out with this story? I mean, as a Christian, as a born-again, spirit-filled believer, this is an occult technique, and I just got into that and told you why we shouldn't be doing that. But it's there. And the fact that NASA leads, especially with that story over this Christmas week, and then with all the drone stuff going on, and by the way, I'm going to do a special on that because the drones are growing. I mean, this is a phenomena that's not going away. So what are we really looking at here? And I find the timing of this incredibly suspect. So that will be the 18th rung on the ladder of disclosure. And again, just so you realize that when you go to rungsofdisclosure.com, I'm going to post that video hopefully soon, and it'll be a lecture. You can watch that. It'll be posted up there for free. But also, when this is the number 18th rung, we will post this on the website also, because it's really important. The fact that, look, we're being prepped for something. It's like, okay, so there's life on Mars. That means there's other life in the universe. Maybe we were seeded here by an advanced race of extraterrestrials. Folks, I'm going to close by saying this. This little track, Word is the Truth. I want to thank Brad Myers for getting us these tracks. But in the track, it says this, and I'm going to read sort of the last paragraph. You see the news of world events taking place around the world. Something is going on lately, and it's different, global, converging almost all at once, like the perfect storm. And most strikingly, it can feel to some like the end of the world is near. You may be like many people who believe the Bible is a book of myths and certainly does not contain any prophecies of the future. But what if this is untrue? There is the coming great deception. Many people during a time of earth changes who did not fit her any longer will leave the planet in the future. These people who do not fit her any longer are not abducted up to an alien mothership in the clouds, as a lot of mainstream media around the world will report, but will be in fact caught up to be with the Lord Jesus Christ in heaven. So the bottom line is, I think we're on the cusp of something. I'm not a prophet. I don't know, but the Lord gives me words. And last year it was no flesh, no sin, no death, no sting. Hail to the King, hail to the King, hail to the King. And I told you that when he gave it to me, and as I was writing it down, I had this mental picture that we were getting to ride down into the Battle of Armageddon. I was seated on a white horse with other men in a beautiful glade in the heavenlies. And Jesus rode in front of that group. And when he got there, I pulled my sword and raised it, and they said, no sin. And everyone said, no flesh. And everyone answered, no flesh, no sin, no death, no sting. Hail to the King, hail to the King, hail to the King. We said it 3 times. So people ask me, have you heard anything? Well, the Lord basically cobbled 3 different sayings that I came up with years apart from one another and said, put them all in a sentence. Okay? And this is the sentence. And most of you, some of you who come here regularly, these will be familiar. In fact, we've got coffee mugs made with this stuff. Okay? UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. This is the coming great deception. But when we go up, they will come down. When we go up, they will show up. So there's 3 separate sentences there, or sayings, given to me by the Lord over a period of 25 years. That this is the coming great deception. That's way back in the Nephilim trilogy, the very first book, published by 1999. So that's 26 years old. Then UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. That's Watchers 1. And finally, we go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. That I coined at the Prophecy Watchers conference, or actually Prophecy Watchers set years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Not sure the exact time. I'll say it again. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. This is the coming great deception. So when we go up, they will come down. When we go up, they will show up. That's the word for 2025. I don't know what that really means. Does it mean this year? But when I have articles like this released by NASA telling us that there was life on Mars, and they got that information using an occult technique, which is called remote viewing. But again, in my opinion, with all due respect to those practitioners of it, it is an occult technique because you're going places where you're not supposed to go. And it is real. It is real. People do astral travel. People do astral project. People do go down like I did it with silver mind control and work with their counselors. But these are evil entities. They are messengers of deception. So combined with this, you've got the drones, the ongoing drones, and then the orbs, which are flashing in and out, and people are reporting those orbs, which appear or disappear, make right-angle turns. They seem to be with the drones. The drones are going into the ocean. What are we looking at? Anyway, folks, Rungs of Disclosure, check it out, lamarzulli.com, lamarzulli.com. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. This is the coming great deception. So when we go up, they come down. When we go up, they show up. Thanks so much for watching.